You won't believe what happened when my quiet life in this peaceful neighborhood took a wild turn, all because of one woman who just wouldn't back down. It started with a simple disagreement, but quickly escalated into something completely unexpected. Meet the HOA Karen, the self-appointed queen of our community, who decided she had the right to call 911 just to make me sell my ranch. Yes, you heard that right. She actually wanted me to give up my home because she claimed she needed it for a wedding venue. At first, I thought it was just a strange joke or maybe a harmless misunderstanding. But when the police showed up at my door, things got serious and the tension between us skyrocketed. This wasn't just about a property anymore. It was about power, control, and how far some people will go to get what they want. I never expected my peaceful ranch to become the center of such drama, and the community is already buzzing with rumors. So, what really drove her to this extreme? And how did the neighbors react when the authorities got involved? Stick around, because in the next part, I'm going to share every jaw-dropping detail about this unbelievable confrontation, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happened next. To really understand how things got so heated, you need to know a bit about the neighborhood and this so-called HOA Karen. Our community is usually quiet. People mind their own business, and we all respect each other's space. That's why it felt so shocking when she started showing up at meetings, demanding changes that didn't make sense to most of us. She's always been loud and pushy, but no one expected her to take it this far. My ranch has been in my family for years. It's more than just land to me. It's where I've made memories, celebrated holidays, and found peace away from all the noise of everyday life. So when she said she wanted to turn it into a wedding venue, I thought she was joking at first. But then her calls to the HOA board got more aggressive, and finally, the 911 call happened. What makes it even stranger is her reasoning. She claimed the community needed a fancy event space, and that my ranch was the perfect spot. But no one else in the neighborhood wanted that. The neighbors started picking sides, and suddenly, I wasn't just dealing with one difficult person. I was caught in the middle of a real neighborhood war. And that's when the police showed up, turning a personal issue into something way bigger. But what happened after that? You're going to want to hear this next part. After the police left, things didn't calm down like I hoped. Instead, the situation only got messier. The HOA Karen started rallying a small group of neighbors who believed her, saying the ranch was underused, and that turning it into an event space would bring in money and prestige. Meanwhile, others stood firmly on my side, insisting that a wedding venue wasn't what this neighborhood needed. It felt like the community was splitting in two, and every conversation turned into a debate about property rights and what the HOA should or shouldn't be able to control. What made it even more complicated was that the HOA itself wasn't completely united. Some board members were sympathetic to Karen's ideas, while others saw how unfair and extreme her demands were. I tried to bring calm and reason to the meetings, but she dominated every discussion, pushing her agenda harder. It became clear she wasn't just interested in the ranch, she wanted power over the whole neighborhood. On top of all this, rumors started swirling about her real motives. Some neighbors whispered that she had plans beyond just weddings, maybe commercial development or something that could change the whole character of the area. I didn't know what to believe, but it made the tension thicker. With neighbors divided, the HOA meetings turning into battlegrounds, and the police already involved once, it felt like there was no easy way out. What would happen if she succeeded? And how far was she willing to go? The story's far from over, and the next twist might shock you. Days turned into weeks, and the tension in the neighborhood was unbearable. Every time I stepped outside, I felt eyes watching me, some filled with sympathy, others with suspicion. The HOA Karen wasn't backing down. If anything, she grew more aggressive. She started sending letters to my door, insisting I reconsider selling the ranch. Then came the unexpected. She showed up unannounced at my property, claiming she needed to inspect it for community safety. That moment was chilling. I realized this wasn't just about weddings anymore. It was a full-on power play. The neighborhood meetings became even more heated. Voices were raised, fingers pointed, and alliances were tested. Some neighbors feared the idea of a wedding venue disrupting the peaceful atmosphere, but others were curious, even tempted by the promises Karen made about boosting property values. I stood firm, but inside, I felt the pressure mounting. This was no longer just about me or my ranch. It was about the future of the whole community. Then, the unexpected happened. The HOA Karen announced she was taking legal steps to force the sale. That shook everyone. The police visits, the meetings, the rumors. It all led to this moment where things could spiral out of control. What would I do next? Could I fight back against someone so determined, with so much influence? Or was my ranch really about to be taken away for a wedding venue no one wanted? The story is reaching its breaking point, and the next chapter will change everything. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, a new twist shook everything up. Out of nowhere, I found out that the HOA Karen had been quietly gathering signatures from neighbors to back her plan, not just for the wedding venue, but for a whole community overhaul that would drastically change the character of our neighborhood. It wasn't just about my ranch anymore. It was about handing over control of the entire area to a group of people who wanted to commercialize it. This wasn't something I expected, and it hit me hard. I started digging deeper, talking to neighbors, and discovered that many felt pressured to sign because Karen had been spreading rumors about property values dropping if they didn't agree. Some even admitted they signed without fully understanding what they were supporting. The divide in the neighborhood was deeper than I thought, and it was clear this wasn't just a personal battle, it was a fight for the soul of our community. To make matters worse, I received a legal notice claiming I was violating HOA rules by not allowing certain inspections and community improvements. It felt like Karen had an endless arsenal of tactics to wear me down. The whole situation was spiraling out of control, and with neighbors turning against each other, it seemed like the peaceful ranch I loved might soon be lost to this unexpected war. What would happen next? The stakes have never been higher. The tension finally came to a head at one of the most intense HOA meetings we've ever had. I stood up, ready to fight for my ranch and my rights, while the HOA Karen and her supporters pushed hard for their plans. But just as things seemed like they might spiral into chaos, something unexpected happened. One of the neighbors who had been quietly observing the whole time stepped forward with evidence that completely changed the game. It turned out Karen had been manipulating documents and spreading false information to gain support, even going so far as to forge signatures on some of those petitions. The room went silent. The HOA board had no choice but to pause all plans and launch a formal investigation. Suddenly, the power Karen thought she had was slipping away. I felt a mix of relief and disbelief. After all the stress, it looked like the truth was finally coming out. The legal threats faded, and neighbors who had been divided started coming together, realizing how close we'd come to losing the peaceful community we loved. But just when I thought this nightmare was over, I got a message from someone anonymous. They hinted that Karen wasn't working alone, and that there were bigger interests behind all this, people who wanted the land for reasons far beyond weddings or events. The story wasn't finished yet, and the real battle might just be beginning. What could that mean for my ranch? You'll want to stay tuned for the next chapter. After the investigation exposed Karen's false documents and forged signatures, the HOA quickly revoked her influence, and the legal pressure on me eased. The neighborhood started to heal, with many neighbors apologizing for being caught up in the drama. It was clear that the ranch, and this community, meant more to us all than any big event venue or commercial plan. We came together to reaffirm our shared values: respect, peace, and protecting what makes this place home. Though the anonymous message hinted at bigger forces behind the scenes, for now, I chose to focus on rebuilding trust and keeping my ranch safe. I realized that sometimes standing up for what's right isn't easy, but it's worth it. This whole experience taught me how important community really is, and how one person's fight can inspire others to speak up too. So, while the story might have some surprises still ahead, the ranch is safe for now, and it remains my sanctuary. Thanks for sticking with me through this wild ride. If you ever face a tough situation, remember, don't give up on what matters most. And hey, if you want to hear what happens next or have your own crazy HOA,